is up, fight fans? I am Jason Burgos for Sherdog.com, and I have the pleasure of being joined by one of the truly special talents to compete in an MMA cage over the last decade. Former UFC middleweight champion, model, now actor, and it is fitting because he always seemed like the Robert Redford, or the Tom Cruise, if you will, of MMA. You will see his acting chops on display on May 16th, only on FITE Network, during his cameo appearance in the film Cagefighter Worlds Collide. And that man is the one and only Luke Rockhold. Mr. Rockhold, sir, thank you for the time to talk MMA and acting.
Good to be here, man. Thanks for the time.
I first want to talk about recent comments you made on Submission Radio, where you explained how you kind of understood the point of view of Robert Whittaker when he was talking about being burnt out. Honesty of that point, I often wondered, when someone reaches major goals like winning, the highest championship possible, is there sort of like satisfaction that does have an effect on the fire going forward? Talk to me about that. After reaching the major milestones, does your outlook on things change? Does the motivation change? It affects the sort of drive you have to grind in a training camp after you've already reached the top.
Yeah, I spoke on that, and I truly believe that there's a sense of relief when you get to when you're undisputed. I mean, speaking from someone who's Strikeforce champion, but there was the naysayers, there's the doubters, and everyone that questioned us and what we were in Strikeforce, and so it was like I still had more to prove. I still had that hunger to go prove that, and then obviously winning the UFC title, there was that that weight kind of came off your shoulders, and then it's a different thought process kind of moving forward. For the most part, I'd say. I mean, for me, it's probably different for everybody, but fighting is it's a violent sport, and it takes a lot of hunger and passion to pursue and to get in that cage and to continue to attack these goals. And I don't know what is your goal once you get to the top. I don't know. And now you're just chasing money, and fighting is different. It's different than ball sports. It's not it's 100% in 100% of the time, and you can't have an off night, off day, and you got to really want it. So it was different for me, and I could see it being different for someone like Robert too. Like I said, the family factor too. It's like wanting to be there, be more with your kids, and all that. I could only imagine.
You and Robert also have a similarity in that you have battled past injuries during your careers. I think some fans do not really appreciate the difficulty of getting a serious injury, then going through the rehab, plus the mental stress of, learning to trust in your body again. And when you deal with it multiple times, it just exacerbates the whole situation. How much does battling back from those injuries add to being burnt out? And in a way, does it sap the fire to get up and go grind and training every single day, especially like I said before, when you've already become champion? Does that stuff just add up and it's part of being burnt out?
I think that has a little bit to do with it. It's also the politics of the sport. Once you get to be champion, then it's heavily weighted in your favor, and now you have negotiation power, and you're going back and forth, trying to make the most and maximize what you have there. So I think that plays another role, and it's
we will come back to MMA topics, but I wanted to next go into what has brought us together for this conversation. That is your role in this upcoming film. How did it come about that you got this part in Cagefighter, and your character Tony Gunn, which is like a perfect kind of douchey bad guy kind of name, Tony Gunn? What is he all about?
Tony Gunn is exactly what you perceive. Yes, he is. So I just stepped up my game a little bit and was Tony Gunn. It was it wasn't too far out of my realm, and they were trying to push me into a couple things, and I've always tempted to test the acting chops, get in there and mix it up. It wasn't too far outside the box with this one.
Mm-hmm.
Coming in as your first movie, coming into a fighting cage fighter movie, so it was pretty easy. It was pretty natural. It was fun. It was a good time. Hearing Chuck was in it and some of the other wrestlers, it sounded like a good time and cool experience. It was fun, and I I had a quick audition. They proposed, and I read for it, and I won.
And you mentioned, people wanting to push you into this. Has it been something that you've taken seriously and you really thought about? Was like, and this was just the time to pull the trigger, or was it just kind of the whim? It just felt right at the time. I had the free time. Let me do it.
Yeah, I've been having my head in MMA for so long, and it's just it kind of wears on you and burnt me out a little bit, and so it's nice to get a break. And so the little time away, obviously you got to mix it up, keep yourself busy and keep yourself inspired, and this presented itself, and I jumped on the opportunity.
I know for you, your fighting future really hinges, like we've talked about, if burning desire to get back in or not, if you want to really do it. But you are still a very young man with a whole lot of life to live. What is like the long term plans for the next 10 to 15 years? Is it the modeling stuff? Is it maybe do more acting? Is it something else? And are you in a very secure place where you don't need fighting to live comfortably for the next 10 years? Did you invest your money in ways that will pay out dividends for a long time to come?
I'm just fine.
Fair enough.
I'm just fine, and I got things in the works, and I'm staying busy, and things are happening.
All right, all right. One of my favorite coaches in the sport is Henry Hooft. The guy seems to do amazing stuff with all kinds of talent. I've talked to many different guys that work with him. Ang Lang Sam, Martin Nguyen, Linton Vassell, a bunch of guys. And they all rave about the simplicity of his teaching. On Instagram, he often raves about your technical skills when he puts up videos. Has that fighter coach connection between you and him, been something special for you? And what does he bring to the table that, say, a guy like a Javier Mendez, something different than what Javier Mendez used to bring?
It's just everyone has something different to bring about. It's if you're seeking to be the best and consume the most knowledge, absorb the most knowledge you can and skill. You're not going to learn that from one person. I love Hav. Hav's always my number one. He's always going to be there for me. I just had a long talk with Hav yesterday, but Henry's someone I had admired from afar, what he was doing with the guys, and he admired what I was doing. I took a loss to Vitor Belfort, and in Brazil when he was coaching him, and he set that whole situation up. So had to respect his thing coming from Vitor. Never seen something like that from Vitor, of course. So Henry came to me in the back after one of my lowest points, right there, and he's like, "You're gonna be a champion." He's like, "I was just at my head down in the back of the the arena in Brazil, and everyone's fucking yelling, 'Kill the American!' And then I get killed, and then he comes to me, and he's like, he's very serious and very like true and honest about it, and came to me and told me, he's like, "You had me really scared, and you're gonna be champion soon. Look forward to it." And then just kind of seeing me and grow up through it, and then we kind of caught each other at one random fight week. I was by myself doing like a guest appearance, and he was training, and we just ended up training together because the mutual respect, and then that clicked, and then it happened again and again and again.
Going back to the movie, what was the experience like? What was it like going through being directed in this type of way, doing the acting? Did you have to do multiple takes for stuff, and that was weird or frustrating? Did you work with anybody specifically that was kind of a cool moment? Because there's a lot of former WWE champions in this movie, and known actors, Chuck, like you mentioned. Any real standouts from the experience you had?
I have a lot of friends and people around here, so I'll mix it up with and read a little bit with. People have a lot of acting, like Brian Callen and different people around LA that I know well, that I can bounce off. So getting a little there, then just getting out there. I mean, everyone does takes. Everyone does more than one takes. There's always that. But I felt like it was natural. It came off nicely, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I'm curious to see how. I felt like it went pretty well, and I've heard the same from the directors and the producers. So everyone seems really excited for it, and I'm ready to see it.
In the interview with Submission Radio, you talked about things like the what will bring you back to MMA, like feeling the fire a little bit. You got to have stuff that excites you, and that's not uncommon for a veteran fighter that's reached the top. It's about something that's exciting to make them want to do the work. A question I have is, are you satisfied with like the UFC system? Is it at all in ways stifling? Would going somewhere else make a new excitement for you that would make you interested? Or are you the type of guy, if you're not fighting in the UFC, you're not fighting MMA?
I'm not. I don't close doors on anything. I didn't close door on retirement. I would never close the door on fighting anywhere else. So, money is what talks, and so the UFC is. I don't think they're doing too well. It's so hot right now with money, and they're not going to be throwing it around at will. I know that WME Wayne Morris, they got a debt to pay, and so we'll see. I mean, I'm happy with the UFC, and I never close a door, but we'll see what they offer and what's next. So obviously there's a lot of fights that I want in the UFC. There's some names that were very appetizing. So I'd like to stay with the UFC.
Female fighters often seem to endure nonsensical hate because of their physical features. If they're pretty, if they're not, whatever. More so than men. However, you are one of the fighters that breaks that mold. Handsome dude, man out of looks. I think you have always gotten the nonsensical hate from MMA fans, from male fans. There's a lot of nonsensical male MMA haters. So it's always made me wonder, what's the average day in the life of Luke Rockhold when he isn't fighting, when he isn't living during a pandemic? I'm sure the haters that don't respect your work ethic think, oh, he probably wakes up at 2 p.m., he trains a little, then he hops in a Lamborghini, he parties with the hottest women in the world, and then does it all again the next day. So inform the world. What is an average day like for you? Are you watching Netflix? Are you just, hanging out with a pet or a dog or something? What are you doing?
Well, right now, there's not a lot to do. Yeah. So, I stay busy. I'm always trying to hustle and working on a little business plan on some things, maybe post fight. So, there's some space. There's some homework. There's investment of time, and then there's other things. Of course, when I'm out, I love to golf. I love to get outside. I love to experience and travel the world. That's the thing. It's like I don't live to work. I work to live, and so. I love fighting, and fighting has been great to me. But it's like I want to experience everything the world has to offer, and so, I'm doing my homework, studying, and understanding what I want, and what you really want, all the little things that make me happy. Getting outside, golfing, experiencing new things.
Now, you mentioned the UFC is not doing so hot financially. I think a lot of people feel that's part of why they might be doing these events right now, pushing for these events. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's maybe not the best move, but it's a move made out of, the desire to make up some debt? Do you dig it? Do you think the world needs it? What are your thoughts on them trying to do these events next week?
I think they're rushing it, of course. I think it's the world wants it. The whole world wants something. And I'm not going to lie, because I want to see it too. But is it right? That's the question. I know that a lot of fighters, they want to get paid. They want to make their money. But is it right? That's the question. It's a weird time, and it's hard to understand what is right now. Because I don't know if I trust the government. I don't know if I trust the UFC. I don't know if I trust anybody out there.
Why?
So, and there's a lot of question marks, Yeah. So it is what it is.
Do you almost feel that's?
But I know they're desperate to make some money. I know the UFC is desperate to make some money. You don't invest $4 billion and then have no income being generated to pay that debt every year.
Does it feel like, last question, does it feel like an end of a chapter in certain ways? Cain seems to be transitioning to a life outside fighting. Cormier is talking about having his last fight. You're kind of indifferent to the sport right now, doing your own thing, very busy on your own. Was that a special time for you when all three of you elite talents in the industry, champions around the same time, that you'll always just remember the rest of your life?
Yeah. Me and Cain and DC, we have a bond like no one else really has. And, we shared that cage, that ring every day, and beat the fucking shit out of each other. And you like I always say, you find out so much about people in fighting, and you're doing it and building each other throughout the process, because you can't hide who you are in fighting. It's like not like any other workspace. When you get in there and you punch somebody in the face, you get to see like who they really are, how much heart they have, how they return, how they respond to that.
Mm.
And then it's the longer grind sessions, and you're in the fifth round and you're still working each other through, and who doesn't want to give up?
Yeah.
It's like you appreciate each other's heart and desire and will to survive and to win. So we've been there for each other through and through, and and pushed each other's limits, and so it's through a decade of work. So that'll never leave us.